What's up, everybody? My name is Zach Pasquariello, and I make these videos to teach you how to start an online bookkeeping business with no experience in less than 30 days. I have had a successful bookkeeping business for the past 3 years, and I have learned so much over those 3 years, and I've condensed all of that into these lessons, these tips and tricks, and this advice that I give on my YouTube channel. My only goal is to teach you how to start and grow your own bookkeeping business. And I do this so that you can fast track and you can avoid all of the mistakes that I made and you can quickly learn all of the lessons that I learned. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe because I make new videos every day. And if you want to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me, there's actually a link in the description below. Schedule a meeting. I would love to work with you. And then finally, I'm going to go over the sales pitch right now. And if you want to download the exact sales pitch that I'm talking about, you can go to my website, harrisburgbookkeeping.com/store. There's also a link in the description below. You can download this sales pitch for free. In this video, I'm going to talk about the exact sales pitch that I have used to land over 100 bookkeeping clients over the past 3 years. I've learned so much. I've developed this sales pitch based on what actually works when talking to clients. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into this sales pitch. Okay, like I said, it's a 7-step process. And step number 1, super simple, introduce yourself. Hey, this is Zach Pasquariello. How are you today? Keep it simple, keep it straightforward. So I book my sales calls. They're only 15 minutes long, so you don't have a ton of time. You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste their time. Try to be professional and courteous, but also try not to do too much small talk because that just wastes time. Okay, step number 2, I always ask people, is now still a good time to talk? Don't say anything else after this. Don't waste time. Go directly to step 3. If they scheduled this phone call with you, then they're probably going to say, yeah, this is a fine time to talk. This is not a sales pitch for a cold call. This is a sales pitch for somebody who has scheduled a meeting with you. So you have already established they want to talk to you. They want your services. They scheduled this time. So this is still a good time to talk. But I always ask, is now still a good time to talk? Because 5% of the time they will be like, you know what, actually, no, now's not really a good time. I forgot about this meeting. I'm in my car right now. Can we reschedule? So 5% of the time, it's not a good time, but majority of the time, they want your services. They signed up for this meeting, and now is a good time to talk. Okay, so step 3, you say, okay, great. So what do you have going on with your business? That's it. That's all you say, and they will talk for 5 minutes telling you all of their problems. So don't waste any time. Don't talk too much. Just introduce yourself, ask them it's a good time to talk, and then say, okay, so what do you have going on with your business? You need to be taking notes the entire time they're talking. So before you call them, make sure you have your computer in front of you or pen and paper and let them do the talking because they will tell you all of their problems. And now is the time where you take notes and you develop a strategy to solve their problems. That's the whole point of this sales pitch. They have problems, you solve the problems, they pay you. Okay, step number 4, after they've talked about 5 minutes about their business, ask them questions after they explain their business. A couple example questions: are you currently using QuickBooks Online? If no, are you willing to switch to QuickBooks Online? That's the first question I ask because I only work with QuickBooks Online. So if you're not willing to use QuickBooks Online, the conversation's pretty much over for me. How many business checking accounts do you have? This gives me an idea of the complexity of their business. If they only have one checking account, that's awesome. It's probably going to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Some of my clients have 5 to 10 checking accounts. So that's obviously a lot more work for me. Do you have any business credit cards? Once again, some of my clients have no credit cards. Some clients have 10 credit cards. So this just gives you an idea of the size and complexity of what they have going on. And then finally, do you have any loans or assets in the business? If you're talking to a real estate investor, they probably have buildings. If you're talking to a trucking company, they probably have vehicles. If you're talking to a general contractor, they might have equipment. If you're talking to a manufacturing company, they might have machinery in their warehouse. So if somebody has loans or assets, this makes the bookkeeping a little bit more complicated. If you're talking to an advertising agency or a software company, they might not have any loans or assets. So this just gives you an idea of the size and complexity of the business you're going to be working with. And like I said, be taking notes the entire time. Okay, step number 5, tell them what you do. This is your sales pitch. This is your opportunity to tell them what you do. And in the beginning, I always emphasize communication. This is a little bit small, but I'm going to read this verbatim. You can say this exact same thing. My priority is to accurately and timely complete your books And to do that, we need to have effective communication. I always emphasize communication because the majority of my clients complain that their previous CPA or their previous bookkeeper had terrible communication. So I will be working on your books every week and sending you emails with questions every single week if there are any transactions that I'm unsure of how to categorize. Some weeks you might not hear from me, but I'm still working on your books every single week. If you don't hear from me, that just means I don't have any questions that particular week. And I always try to respond to emails within 24 hours. This is all just emphasizing communication. This is selling your services. This is telling the prospective client, I'm going to care about you. I'm going to communicate with you. We're going to work together. Okay, step 5 continued. Here's where you tell them the 3 things you do. I pretty much do 3 things. I'm an expert at QuickBooks and bookkeeping, so I stick to what I'm good at. 3 things. I categorize your transactions on a weekly basis. I reconcile your accounts every month, so I will need your bank statements and credit card statements every month. I always include that because that just lets the client know that he or she is going to need to give me their bank statements or view-only access to their checking account. And I just tell them that's just so that I can verify everything in your QuickBooks is 100% accurate. Not everybody knows what it means to reconcile their accounts. So I like to explain to them that reconciling their accounts is just my way of verifying that everything is 100% accurate. I assume that business owners and prospective clients like the idea of their books being 100% accurate, so I include that in my sales pitch. Finally, the 3rd thing I do, I generate your financial statements. So in the first 5 to 10 days of every month, I will email you your updated profit and loss statement. This is the final product of bookkeeping. Their P&L, their income statement, their financial statements. This is what business owners want to look at to check their profitability, and this is what business owners need at the end of the year to file their taxes. So these financial statements are super important. Step number 6, they will most likely ask you questions after you've explained the services that you provide. Some example questions: how much do you charge? Or, okay, so what are the next steps? Or, okay, how do we get started? If they ask you how much you charge, you can say this verbatim, and I have this written out here on the slideshow, and I also have it. I have all of this stuff written out word for word on my website, harrisburgbookkeeping.com/store. The link is in the description below. You can download this exact sales pitch. Okay, I'm going to read it verbatim. This is exactly what I tell my clients every single time. And if you don't have any clients, you can still use this. You don't need to tell the prospective client that you've never worked with a bookkeeping client before. I never tell you to lie to your clients. Well, my clients pay me between $250 and $1,000 per month, and it all depends on the size and complexity of your business. So I can't say exactly how much your bookkeeping will cost, but I can tell you that my average client pays about $300 to $400 per month. In order to give you an exact quote, I will need to be invited to your QuickBooks online account, and I'm going to need to see your 3 most recent bank statements. Okay, so if they give you pushback on the bank statements, tell them this. Once again, I'm going to read this verbatim. The nature of my services completely depends on the number of transactions and the complexity of the transaction. So in order to give you a quote, I will need to determine the amount of work required to categorize your transactions and reconcile your accounts. I will be able to make that determination by looking at your 3 most recent bank statements and credit card statements. So basically, you as the bookkeeper, you're going to be working with their transactions. You're going to be categorizing them and reconciling their accounts. So the amount of work that you're going to be doing completely depends on the size and complexity of their business and their business transactions. So 100%, no exceptions, you need to see their QuickBooks account and their bank statements in order to give them a quote. Otherwise, they might throw you an extra bank account that you had no idea about, and now all of a sudden your work is doubled. I tell my clients, you can mail me your statements, send them to me in an email, or upload them to a cloud. I use Google Drive, or you can give me access to whatever cloud software that you use. There's really no sensitive information on bank statements. Most of the time, they don't even have the account number. And if your client's super worried about it, they can use a marker or whiteout, or they can cut out their account number on their bank statement. They can white out their address. I don't know what sensitive information they might have on their bank statements, but 100% you need to see their bank statements one way or the other. I make a big deal about this. Like maybe less than 5% of my prospective clients give me pushback on the bank statements. Almost everybody, if they do have a problem with emailing them to me, that's the main issue. People don't want to email their bank statements. So I tell them they can upload them to a secure cloud, or they can mail them to me, or they can bring them to me in my office. Okay, step number 7, this is the final step. Give them your email address for the QuickBooks invite and try to get invited to their QuickBooks account while you are on the phone with them. So if you're on the phone with them and they're sitting in front of their computer, just ask them like, hey, can you just invite me to your QuickBooks now? That way I can have a look at it and give you a quote as soon as possible, and then walk them through the steps on how to invite you as their accountant. And if not, then give them your email address for the QuickBooks invitation. So you're going to need to get their email address and send them an email, or just give them your email address over the phone. So this is the 7 steps for your sales pitch for getting bookkeeping clients. I hope this was helpful. If you want to download this exact sales pitch, you can go to my website. The link is in the description. Hopefully this helps. Talk to you guys later.